She walked away thinking it was her upgrade, convinced herself the grass was greener, that someone out there would offer what you couldn't. More attention, more gifts, more validation. She believed the story she told herself, that leaving you was stepping up. She thought you'd crumble, that you'd fall to pieces and beg for her return. But the moment you didn't chase, the entire narrative flipped. You didn't beg, you didn't fold, you didn't spiral. And that's when the silence began to haunt her, because silence, when done right, screams louder than any emotional outburst ever could. She expected tears, drama, desperate messages at 2 a.m., but you gave her none of that. You didn't explode, you evaporated. She didn't get the show, she got the void. And that void forced her to face the reality she never expected. Maybe she wasn't as central to your world as she thought. That silence became your power. While she was waiting for the collapse, all she saw was the calm, the mystery, the man who vanished without a trace. And in her quiet moments, it started eating at her. Because women don't regret losing a man right away. They regret it when they realize he never needed them in the first place. The worst move a man can make after a breakup is trying to prove something, begging for another chance, sending walls of text, posting for attention. That's not masculinity. That's validation seeking dressed up as loyalty. And what does that do? It reinforces her belief that she made the right choice. Every time you reach out, you're confirming her story, that she was the prize and you were the one left behind. What most men don't realize is that chasing doesn't show strength. It exposes weakness, and women are hardwired to pull away from anything that reeks of desperation. Instead, you disappear, not with bitterness, with certainty. You cut all ties, not as a reaction, but as a boundary. You block the number, unfollow, mute. You don't watch her stories. You don't wonder about her next move, because your silence isn't about punishing her. It's about protecting you. It's not emotional warfare. It's emotional mastery. You don't remove her from your life to make a point. You remove her so you can focus entirely on building a new chapter, one where your energy doesn't orbit her approval. That's when the true transformation begins. You redirect all the energy you once gave her and invest it back into yourself. You hit the gym with a vengeance. You clean up your finances. You learn new skills. You surround yourself with people who speak life into your vision, not ones who drain it. You go dark, not because you're hiding, but because you're sharpening. And in time, you become unrecognizable, not in spite of the breakup, but because of it. You didn't lose her. You shed her. There's a difference. She was an anchor. You cut the rope. And while she's busy wondering if you miss her, you're out there creating a life that doesn't even need her memory. Not to prove a point, but because that life was always meant to be yours. You just forgot when you were trying to be enough for someone who didn't even know what enough looked like. Your mission becomes more than moving on. It becomes about leveling up in every category: body, mind, spirit, wealth, purpose. And when she finally stumbles across you again through a post, through a mutual friend, or by sheer coincidence, it doesn't feel like revenge. It feels like revelation. She expected you to fall apart. Instead, she sees you rising. She expected you to chase. Instead, she sees you leading. She expected heartbreak. What she sees is a man untouchable, unfazed, unbothered. That's when the regret sets in. Not because you rubbed it in her face, but because she realizes she didn't just walk away from a man, she walked away from a legacy in progress. You see, most women don't miss the man they left. They miss the man he becomes after they left. And you became unstoppable. You stopped being the man who needed validation and became the man who validates himself. You no longer seek closure. You are the closure. You stopped trying to win her back because you realized she was never a prize to begin with. The real prize was the peace you were sacrificing for temporary affection. Now that peace is your standard, and anything that disrupts it gets no access. That mindset, that indifference, That confidence that doesn't need to shout, that's what terrifies her. She expected to be the emotional center of your universe, but you built a new universe and she's not even in the orbit. That's power. And it doesn't come from hate. It comes from healing, from discipline, from redirecting every emotion into elevation. Every tear became fuel. Every memory became a stepping stone. Every moment of silence became a lesson in self-control. You didn't just move forward, you moved beyond. And then comes the test, the text, the story view, the random like from a post months back. A simple, hey, how have you been? Innocent on the surface, strategic underneath. She's not checking on you, she's checking if the door is still open. That's not love, it's ego. It's her need to feel like you're still affected, and this is your defining moment, the moment you either regress or reinforce the new standard. And if you've done the work, that decision is easy. You don't respond, because your silence already said everything that needed to be said. You don't respond because you understand what very few men ever learn, that not every woman who regrets losing you deserves a second chance to know you. Some doors, once closed, must remain locked, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because this isn't about punishing her. This is about protecting the empire you're building, the peace you've earned, the clarity you now carry. And once you've tasted that peace, trust me, you'll never trade it for temporary validation again. So you let her go, not emotionally, but energetically. You no longer wake up thinking about her. You no longer replay the what-ifs. You no longer wonder if she regrets it, because you've transcended that phase. You've outgrown that chapter. Now you operate from a higher plane. She was a lesson, not a loss. And you learned, and you evolved, and you moved on, not to someone else, but to someone greater, yourself. When the world sees you now, they see strength, discipline, direction. But what they don't see are the silent nights you spent rebuilding, the mornings you forced yourself to rise, the days you pushed forward when every part of you wanted to collapse. That's what makes you dangerous. You're not just a man with vision, you're a man with scars who turned pain into purpose. And when that new woman walks into your life, one who sees you, respects you, values the journey you've taken, she'll realize she's not getting a man fresh out of heartbreak. She's getting a king forged by fire, a man who doesn't need her but chooses her. And that's the difference. You don't love from lack anymore, you love from overflow. You're not chasing compatibility, you're building legacy. Let that be your focus, not revenge, not validation, but mission, vision, peace. You don't become the man she regrets leaving by focusing on her. You become that man by forgetting she ever had that kind of power. You become that man by choosing yourself over and over again until choosing you becomes second nature. So if she ever looks back, all she'll see is a shadow of the man she once knew. Because the man you are now, he's untouchable, unreachable, unapologetic. She left thinking she was walking away from a boy. She'll soon realize she left the doorway of a dynasty. And now, that door, it's not just closed, it's gone. And that's what she'll never admit out loud, that the silence is what cuts the deepest. Not the arguments, not the explanations, not even the goodbye. It's the emptiness where your voice used to be, the hollow spot where your effort once lived. It's when she checks your profile and sees nothing, when she opens her messages and sees no new text. That's when it sinks in. That's when she realizes she didn't leave a man. She left her last sense of stability. Because you didn't just walk away, you outgrew the version of yourself that needed her.
And the irony is this: she didn't leave because you were weak. She left because she didn't think you'd become strong. She thought you'd stay stuck, orbiting her memory, drowning in what-ifs. But instead you did the unthinkable. You didn't just survive. You turned your survival into momentum. You turned rejection into redirection. And now every step you take forward is a step further from the version of you that ever thought she was your peak.
This is when you start building in silence. You build a new body, a new mindset, a new path, one brick at a time. No flashy posts, no forced positivity, just quiet, disciplined progress. You don't brag, you earn. You don't announce. You arrive. And the craziest part? You find a version of yourself that you never would have discovered if she stayed. Sometimes it takes losing someone you thought was everything to find the man who needed to become something. And while she's out trying to fill the space you left behind, you realize something profound. What you were looking for in her was never hers to give. The approval, the peace, the purpose. Those were things only you could ever give yourself. And now you've got them. Now you wake up with clarity, not confusion. You no longer beg for answers. You write new questions. You've stopped reacting and started creating. You start investing in things that build your legacy. You study, you train, you travel. You take your pain and repurpose it into potential. You start mentoring younger men, helping them avoid the same traps. You stop gossiping about her and start speaking life into your future. You stop being emotionally available to people who only value you when you're broken. Now, they have to meet you at your healed level, or not at all. Because here's the hard truth. She didn't leave a broken man. She left the blueprint to one of the greatest comebacks she'll never be part of. And when she sees you again, she won't just see a man who moved on. She'll see a man who became everything she wanted, but without needing her to do it. And that's the sting. That's what keeps her up at night. Not that you became better, but that you became better without her. She'll see the photos, hear the stories, maybe even catch a glimpse of you with someone new. A woman who actually understands your value, who doesn't need to be reminded what she has, who sees you not as a placeholder, but as a partner. Someone who adds to your peace instead of disrupting it. And that new woman, she's not in competition with the past. She's walking alongside the future. That's when she'll try to circle back, subtle at first, a comment here, a reaction there, maybe even an apology disguised as small talk, but you've evolved past that version of yourself that would even respond. You don't need closure. You are the closure. You're too focused, too intentional, too invested in who you've become to go digging through ruins for a spark that's long since burned out. And deep down, she knows it. She knows that if she had seen the man you were becoming, she might have stayed. But she didn't, and that's on her, because you gave her chances, grace, loyalty. But now you give yourself something far more powerful, standards. She didn't respect the man who bent over backwards, but she can't forget the man who walked away with dignity. So keep going, keep building, keep rising. Let her memory fade like a name written in sand, washed away by the waves of your purpose. And when people ask about her, you don't speak with bitterness. You speak with peace, because she wasn't the ending. She was the ignition. And from that flame, you built a fire that now lights the path for the man you were always meant to become. And now, you operate by a different code. A code written not in emotions, but in principles. You don't move based on how you feel. You move based on what needs to be done. You're no longer reactive. You're strategic. You've mastered the art of self-control, not because it looks good, but because it's necessary. Because if your emotions can be controlled by another person, you're not a man. You're a puppet. But now no one pulls your strings. You cut the cords. You hold the remote. Your conversations sound different. They're no longer about who's to blame or what could have been. They're about what's next, how to build, where to go, who to serve. You're surrounded by warriors now, men who don't fold under pressure, but sharpen under it. You've stepped into a brotherhood of focused, disciplined men, the kind who don't compete over women. They compete over legacy. And with that clarity, you stop settling. Not just in relationships, but in life. You stop wasting time with people who drain you. You stop entertaining half-hearted friends, dead-end conversations, and anything that doesn't match your energy. You've got momentum now, and momentum is sacred. You don't risk it for temporary comfort. You protect it with boundaries, rituals, and ruthless focus. You start dreaming bigger. Not in fantasy, but in blueprints. You plan. You execute. You walk into rooms you used to be intimidated by, and now you dominate them. Because the man you've become doesn't ask for permission. He doesn't seek approval. He walks like he belongs, because he's put in the work to earn it. That work, that internal grind, it's what separates boys who want attention from men who command respect. There's a silence in your presence now, not the awkward kind, the powerful kind, the kind that makes people sit up straighter when you enter a room, the kind that says, "I've seen darkness and walked through it." You no longer explain yourself. Your actions are your biography. Your consistency is your loudest flex. And now, anyone who wants access to you, they have to earn it. And that woman who walked away, she doesn't haunt you anymore because you've rewritten the narrative. She's no longer your heartbreak story. She's your turning point, the fork in the road that led you back to yourself. You don't resent her. You don't romanticize her. You thank her silently because her absence forced your elevation, and some of your greatest growth came from the pain she left behind. Now, every day you wake up, you're reminded of what it cost to get here, the nights alone, the workouts you didn't skip, the investments you made, the times you said no to old habits and old people. You're building something now, something generational. Your kids will benefit from this grind. Your name will carry a different weight because of the decisions you're making right now. And you'll teach the younger men coming up behind you how to walk away with dignity, how to build after heartbreak, how to stay stoic in storms. You'll show them that masculinity isn't noise, it's presence. It's not control, it's command. It's not dominance over others, it's mastery over self. And that, above all, is what she'll never forget, that when she let go of you, she released a man who went on to lead others. So let this be your reminder. You are not rebuilding for her. You're rebuilding for every version of yourself that doubted his worth. For every younger you that wanted to be chosen, for every future you that will look back and thank God you didn't fold. Because now you don't chase love, you attract respect. You don't ask for peace, you are peace. And when she sees you again, she'll realize she didn't just lose a man, she lost the movement that followed. Comment below, I'm not rebuilding for her, I'm rebuilding for me. Let it be your reminder that your life, your power, your peace, they were never hers to validate. They've always been yours to claim.